Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. I just came back from watching Solo, a Star Wars story, and as always, I thought I'd give you my thoughts on the movie as a whole, which individual parts I liked and so on. But I'm gonna keep this first part of the video spoiler free for those of you who want to hear my thoughts but haven't yet seen the movie, which is probably most of you because it's released a bit earlier in Sweden and some other Nordic countries. So my quick thoughts in a few minutes before I go into spoilers, because I always find it a lot easier to talk about my thoughts if I can actually talk about spoilers. So let's get straight into it. What did I think of the movie? Overall, I thought it was a really good movie. Nothing mind-blowing, and there's things I would definitely have preferred to go other ways in the movie. But it was a good Star Wars movie, it wasn't bad, and I don't regret them making it either. It served its purpose very well, and without saying too much, it also contained a lot of very cool references to the animated Clone Wars series, which at least to me made it a lot better. And if you have seen the Clone Wars series, I think you're gonna enjoy those references as well. In terms of all the actors' performances, I thought they were good. I still didn't quite buy Alden as Han Solo. He did as good as I think he could have, but it didn't just feel like Han Solo to me, if I'm gonna be completely honest. Whereas Donald Glover really felt more similar to Lando in the ways he acted and things like that. I mean, even the absolute first scene he was in the movie and I heard his voice, it even sounded just like Lando Calrissian. So I thought he was closer to Lando than Alden was to Han Solo. But it wasn't something that really bugged me in the movie, but it just wasn't a very clear Han Solo to me. And something else I also really enjoyed with the movie was seeing how Chewie and Han bonded and how they got to know each other. And I felt very satisfied in that regards, because that's something I know a lot of people have been excited to see in this movie, how they met, how they worked together and so on. And I know a lot of people ask, how do you rate the movie compared to the other new movies and things like that? And I find that really hard to do, especially after only seeing it one time. But one thing I think it did a million times better than both The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens was world building. I absolutely hate how little and poor the world building has been in The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, and that's something I really loved with the prequels, and something I think George Lucas did a fantastic job with. And both Rogue One and this movie did a really good job on that department, especially this movie. So that's one thing that I thought was really good with this movie, and something that I had hoped for when I went into the movie. But I think that's gonna leave the spoiler-free part of the review. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, I would recommend clicking away right now and then going back to this video after you have watched it, as I'm gonna go into some very spoilery specific details right now, so you have been warned. So what about spoiler thoughts? Well, I summarized my overall thoughts earlier in the video, but something I felt with the entire movie was that it was a fairly predictable movie. Well, except for that cameo, of course. But just the main plot felt very predictable and didn't have too many twists and turns that you didn't expect, which made it maybe not as exciting and thrilling as it could have been. But the reason to why I liked it so much was more about the character development with Chewie and Han, and most of all the world building, getting to know a bit more behind the scenes, and all the references to the Clone Wars, how Aurra Sing died, them even mentioning Bosk, which I was really glad when they did, and the involvement of the Pike Syndicate and things like that. Characters that we've only seen animated before, but now actually get to see in the movie, was really cool. And of course, we have that cameo with Darth Maul. That's something I really didn't expect, and that I thought it really made the movie better. I know that's a bad thing to say, but it just made me so happy seeing him on the screen, both played by Sam Witwer and Rey Park, because I made sure to look through the after credits, and it was indeed Rey Park doing the actual acting and Sam Witwer doing the voice. And the voice was so spot on by Sam Witwer. Like, the first couple of seconds of the scene you didn't actually see Maul, you only heard the voice, and you could right away hear that it was Sam Witwer. It just brought me back to all of those Clone Wars and Rebels vibes, which I thought was amazing. And Maul did look a little bit strange, I'll admit. Rey Park has put on some weight, and he did not at all look like in The Phantom Menace. But keep in mind that this is 20 years after The Phantom Menace, and he's been through a lot. If you've seen Clone Wars, he lost half his body, obviously. He's been trapped on a garbage planet for years, and yeah, he's not had the best life. So it does make sense that he looks very scarred, deformed, and old in general. But I guess what made me a little bit confused about his looks was that it was very different compared to how he aged in the Clone Wars and Rebel series, and I think that's something they could have worked maybe a little bit on, making him more look like in the Rebel series, because it doesn't look like he's aged too much in that series, whereas here he did age. So I think if he would have gone straight from the Phantom Menace to this, it would have been fine, but after seeing Rebels, that made it all a little bit confusing at least. But it was a very good appearance nevertheless, and that makes me ask, maybe we'll see him again in a movie, because this definitely leaves it open for Han actually going and doing that job for Jabba the Hutt that they reference, or Kira going and meeting Maul and working with him. So I'm really curious if they're planning to continue anything on that storyline at all, and maybe even if they have a Kenobi movie, Maul can make an appearance there as well, even though we kind of know that they haven't met until the final encounter in the Rebel series. But now I'm getting too much into the whole Maul part. Overall, it was a good movie, and I really enjoyed all the small references here and there. And it was also fantastic to see how Han actually got the Falcon from Lando at the end of the movie, as I was almost afraid that they would leave that open after Lando left. But one negative thing I gotta bring up was L3. I honestly thought she was just kind of annoying, and I didn't think it fit with the whole, oh, I'm gonna free all the droids plot. I mean, it might just be me, but so far we've been spoiled with amazing droids in the Star Wars series: C-3PO, R2-D2, K-2SO, BB-8. But I don't know, L3 to me just felt off, and I'm honestly kind of glad that she died, so we won't just see her again. But I did like the part of her becoming part of the Falcon with all her navigation data and such. That was fine, but her as a character wasn't very good in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up my thoughts for now actually, because I feel like I need to watch it more times as well as digest it a little bit more before I go into other details. And hopefully I'll be able to discuss this in a stream maybe a week from now when most people will have watched it, as I always find it easier to discuss a movie than just me sitting here and giving you my thoughts on every little thing. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.